Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to 8-Bit Chazzy, the segment on this channel where I review the many video games that I play over the years, both on and off of YouTube. And today I'm going to be covering something that I actually played through recently, you know. It was a very long, intense, and grueling experience, very pulse-pounding action all over the place, you know. I am going to be reviewing now for the first time, it feels like it's been forever for this video to come out, Battlefield Bad Company, and I'm going to be reviewing it today because I recently finished playing the damn thing. Here is a link to the playlist right up here, man. You know, 7 very grueling gameplays that just each one individually took so long to put together, to record, to edit and export, man. Each one of those videos felt like an individual war by itself, you know. It was just, oh my god, it was intense, man, you know, very just brutal, elastic, you know. And the reason that I say that this review is finally coming out is because it feels like it's been forever since the first video and now the review, because I was always planning on reviewing it after I was done. You know, I have the habit of doing that on my channel. And in case you guys don't know, this game was released back in 2008 and it was developed by DICE and published by Electronic Arts for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. I obviously played the Xbox 360 version, you know. I have an Xbox One, but it's backwards compatible, and it's obviously a first-person shooter, and it actually is very unique in the regard that, you know, Battlefield games had always been more about, you know, this war-based multiplayer online and stuff, you know, but this one actually, you know, focused more on the single player. It gave us a solo campaign with characters and backstories and stuff, you know, really good development. So it was actually, you know, it also was released mostly for consoles, because before then the Battlefield games were mostly just for Windows, right? So this was very interesting, and it was really cool, a stark departure from what we saw before. And because it made use of the Frostbite game engine, you know, the game gave you such destructibility, you know, possibilities. That didn't roll off the tongue too well. A lot of let's say destruction, you know, because of the Frostbite engine, you could just blow up pretty much everything, you know, whether it's enemies or buildings or trees, grass, whatever, man. And almost anything that you saw you could destroy. A really good variety of weapons, you know, a lot of cool single player achievements also in the campaign. The story was a little bland, you know. You basically you play as the protagonist, right? Private Preston Marlowe, right? As he is with his squad, the Bad Company battalion, trying to steal gold from mercenaries while also in the midst of a war between the United States and Russia. So things get really heated, you know. Each level tells a story of its own, and it all adds to the campaign, you know, the war effort, right? It's a very good game. It didn't age very well, you know, and some of the controls are a little wonky, but I'm gonna talk about that later. I still think it was pretty cool, you know. It was well received, and it spawned a sequel, and I will probably never play it on my channel because Game Pass removed it recently, but still, nah. So before I continue and talk a little bit about the setting and the plot, the characters, let's take a look at a clip here from Bad Company.
Deep within the U.S. Army exists an elite force deployed for precise tactical operations. These are the men. Who are totally not the guys I was just talking about.
Now, you actually played through the game as the protagonist, Preston Marlowe, who is a private. He's recently joined the B Company of the 222nd Army Battalion of the United States, you know, who are commonly known as B Company. So you have Sergeant Samuel Redford, you know, who's the team leader, a little bit more serious, you know. Then you have George Haggard, who's the pyromaniac and sort of like a comic relief, you know. And also Terrence Sweetwater, who is pretty much like a foil to Haggard, you know, but also does take things seriously. And you guys are actually fighting a war, a fictional war, you know, a Russo-American war that is taking place in the near future, or when the game was released in the near future, right? I'm pretty sure it's all in the past now, right? And so it's between the United States and the Russian Federation, and it takes place in the fictional country of Sardistan. Surdarstan, I don't know how to pronounce it, you know, but basically the game takes you through different missions and objectives as you go. Each one is sort of like, it's illustrated as a different battle to eventually win the war, but it's interesting because each chapter offers you different objectives, you know. They're all sort of the same, you know, regroup at the smoke and take this place here, eliminate the enemies there, do this and that. Occasionally you will kidnap a person like a president, you know, and there's always a lot of enemy resistance, but the story mainly follows that line of thought there, you know. There's also this other detail because it takes place in the fictional Circassian country, you know, of Kurdistan, right? And basically it's like in the region, a fictional region of the Middle East, you know, this city called Sadiz near the Caspian Sea. And so the game is bathed in this like orange tint, you know. You can really tell that you're in the Middle East, you know. It gives you kind of like these Tunisia, Sahara vibes, you know. It actually made me, when I started playing the game for the first time, it actually made me remember the war on terror in Iraq, you know, Afghanistan, because that's what it feels like, you know. So it did feel familiar, but at the same time all new. And like I said, the game does handle pretty okay at times. You know, a few more details here. The Sarge is actually the first guy to volunteer for the mission because, you know, he's going to be doing this in exchange for shortening his term of service, you know, because he only has 3 days left to serve, right? So, and there's actually a running gag at the end of the game, and I think a little bit in the second one also, right, where, you know, they're making fun of him for not retiring and stuff, you know, but it's cool. The characters play off of each other, you know, it's really nice, and as you are struggling to fight the enemies, you know, I can't really remember if they're considered insurgents, you know, but or terrorists, but they're just the enemy fodder to foes, and it's really cool. As you you get to take down tanks, you know, there's a level where you fly a helicopter with the president in tow. So each level, you eventually start to discover that there's gold that these mercenaries have stolen, you know. You go on different objectives, and eventually the game culminates with a little bit of a boss battle against the legionary in a helicopter. And it's really interesting how the final chapter builds up to that, because there's quite a few enemies to kill, a lot of objectives to complete, you know, riding vehicles to and fro. When you finally get there and defeat the helicopter, it feels good. However, a little bit of a post-credit scene shows that the legionary actually survived the crash and was somehow unhurt, right, which sets up the second game. It's really cool, really nice. Way too many details, though I probably butchered a few of them, you know, but essentially that's what the game is. You're fighting this fictional war against Russia, and it's very, very dynamic how things play out. The game does have quite a bit of depth despite being limited, you know, for the hardware at the time, you know, but still, it's pretty entertaining. And being the first Battlefield game that I ever played, which opened the door for me to play all the subsequent ones after that, it was pretty entertaining. And before I talk a little bit more about what I thought of it and other features, let's take a look at another clip from Bad Company.
Hey, welcome to the sandbox. You smell very clean.
The Army's launching an offensive, and we're going to be the first ones to go in.
Haven't they got guys specially trained for that?
Well, we're going in before them. They're too expensive to wait.
Just like most FPSs, you start off the game with your primary weapon, which can be, for example, an assault rifle, a shotgun, a submachine gun, a sniper, you know, anything that you can imagine, a semi-automatic gun, you know, anything that you can imagine the game offers you. There is a wide assortment of weapons, and some of them are even, I think all of them are collectibles, you know, you actually get an achievement for getting all of them, you know. It's like Pokemon, gotta catch them all. You also have your secondary weapon, which can be a pistol, or it can also be a grenade, or maybe your primary weapon has a grenade launcher installed into it, you know. You also have this thing called a Life 2 injector, which basically allows you to heal up when you're low on health. You start with 100 health every level, but as it goes down, you actually have to manually heal yourself with this injector, you know, or else you die, obviously. It's an interesting factor, you know, because other games you take damage and you have to just sort of, you know, stay in cover for it to reduce, you know, then you can go back out again. But this I think is cool because you can be a badass and go into combat and shoot everybody and then use the injector when your health is low and still keep on trucking, you know. I think it's really nice. You also have a combat knife for melee, you know, up close encounters. So it's really cool, man. I really enjoy how the game, you know, gives you these options for combat, you know. There are also vehicles, so you have your grounded infantry vehicles, you've got your attack helicopters, you know, you've got tanks and other miscellaneous vehicles, you have attack boats or what the hell is it called, damn it, I have a little cheat sheet here, hold on, I forgot what it's called. Oh, here we go, a mobile anti-aircraft weapon system, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, you got your armored cars as well. Some vehicles are just used for transport, you know, it's literally just to go from point A to point B, but others actually come equipped with weapons for you to fight back, you know. One of the funnest things to do was go on a freaking golf cart in one of the levels, which was just hilarious as hell. Just like you're a sitting duck, you can die very quickly and easily, but I still think it was hilarious, you know. It's awesome. But anyway, What else? Aside from all the vehicles, there's a very good assortment of military vehicles as well. You can take enemy vehicles. You can pretty much hijack whatever's on the battlefield, you know. You can also employ you can have rocket launchers, RPGs, you know. You can also call in mortars, airstrikes, you know. You can plant C4, you know. Take a step back and blow stuff up, you know. It's for a game that was released back in 08 for the 360 and PS3, man. It's actually very, very impressive how much variety they offer you, you know. As well as the Frostbite game engine, which allows for up to 90% of the game maps to be destroyed, you know. There are certain frames that are reduced, like for example, there are certain elements that you can't destroy completely because it's to avoid you going crazy and completely flattening the entire area, you know, of a map. So I can understand that, but it's really cool how you can, for example, blow holes through walls, which you couldn't do in previous games, you know. It's awesome. Like, it's like, why use a door when you can just blow a hole through the damn wall of the building you're in, man? I think it's freaking hilarious. It's just awesome. But still, in my honest, humble opinion, man, it really gets the job done. It does feel repetitive, you know, like all of these, you know, I don't know, mid to late 2000s shooters felt, you know, on that generation of consoles, but still a lot of really cool because you can destroy pretty much everything, even vegetation, so you can, you know, trees, grass, bushes, whatever, vehicles and enemies, you know, and other buildings. So still, oh, and also there is this dynamic lighting, you know, which actually it has this feature where it kind of correlates with the game environment. So basically, as the environment changes, so does the lighting, you know. So as the sun comes up or goes down, you actually see the character models, you know, getting lighter or darker, you know, the reflections. It's really cool. The cutscenes are a little annoying because you can't skip them, you know, but still, I think it's nice. The solo campaign really does offer variety, the way the characters interact and play off of each other, you know, in comical ways. So it's a war, man. It's tough, but there are some characters who provide very much needed comic relief. So to me, it's just a perfect foil. I think it's really nice. And I was gonna say some other stuff. The combat, the vehicle combat, some of them don't really handle too well. I'm not a big fan of the attack helicopter that you use in one level, but still, you can shoot stuff, it gets the job done. Some other vehicles don't handle very well, or they're slow, they're wonky, you know. Tanks are usually the go-to vehicle for when you just want to demolish everything, you know. I really enjoy playing as the tanks. They were nice, but sometimes I prefer a lighter armored vehicle, you know, just for, you know, the infantry fighting vehicle, just to make it go a little faster from point A to point B. But I think it's cool. The turrets also. The turrets are so annoying when they're being used against you, but when you use them against the enemy, you feel like an indestructible badass. It's freaking just awesome, man. Yeah, I think that's quite a mouthful, huh? Well, let me take a breather here and also show you guys another clip here from Bad Company.
What? I just always wanted to say that. Why? Sounds cool.
And so, what is the final verdict, huh? What's my final say on the matter? The game handled pretty well, you know, very good humor, character development, you know, the way that they play off of each other, you know, some comic relief, other technical aspects as well, you know, the sound, the atmosphere, the game engine, the graphics, you know, the graphics look pretty good for a game that was released back in that year for the consoles that it had, you know. However, I never played Battlefield Bad Company back when I had a 360, back when I was still living in the United States, you know, because I was always a much bigger fan of Call of Duty. Those to me were like the standard for shooter games. I had never played any Medal of Honor or Battlefield up until that point, right? It's always been COD for me, always been Call of Duty, you know, ever since I started playing. My first Call of Duty was, I think, Big Red one on the PS2, you know. Then I don't know if I ever played Finest Hour before that, you know, but got the 360, played Call of Duty 2, and then 3 then Modern Warfare, you know, and it was all uphill from there. And the Call of Duty franchise hasn't really been too good lately. In Battlefield, you could argue the same, but still, I've always been more of a Call of Duty guy. But after playing Battlefield, you know, I did play all the games up until this point except for 2042, and Bad Company was the logical place to start, right? And because I played it so recently in a more modern day setting, and I have been already used to the cutting edge AAA titles that we have today, it wasn't the best, you know. There are times when it got way too repetitive, you know. I really could have used a lot more variety and creativity with the objectives and the missions, you know, and like the ability to skip cutscenes would have been cool too, because I had to replay the game multiple times, you know, to do it for YouTube, you know. So having to sit through cutscenes was annoying as hell. Some levels really dragged out, and there were some events that would happen, whether scripted or otherwise, that would make it really hard for you to complete a certain objective, you know. And The variety of weapons was okay, it was cool, very easy to pick up and play like most first-person shooters, you know. It wasn't the worst game in the world, but I have played much better war games, you know. It was a very good first contact with me, you know, a first foray into the Battlefield franchise, you know. I had actually played Battlefield 1 before it, but like actually like I don't know. I just wanted to go back and start off from Bad Company, you know. There was a sequel and it was considerably better, but the first Battlefield Bad Company, I will give a rating of 6 out of 10, you know. It wasn't perfect. It was fun, you know. Just thought it was maybe... I don't know, man. The game had a very strange way of pacing itself, you know. There weren't a lot of levels, only 7, but some of them got long as hell, way too drawn out, a lot of things to do, you know. It's okay, if they were too short, I would have also complained, but being too long, you know, I just thought that maybe they could have, you know, maybe compressed certain things here and there, you know. The game starts to get way too repetitive as well, and I still liked it though, you know. I wish that maybe the characters had a little bit more depth, you know, could have had a little bit more backstory, you know, and kind of wanted me to get more engaged. And because I was playing an Xbox 360 game on an Xbox One S on a big ass TV, you know, it did not look very good at all, you know, frame rate and stuff and graphics, you know, the lighting, the shadow cell shading, it didn't really please me too much, but it was still fun, such that I wanted to do it for my channel. Left a link to the playlist at the beginning of the video there. So that's it, man. I think that's it. I'm just gonna wrap this up here, you know. Very good, man. Definitely a lot of fun, you know, if you're looking to play a quick little first-person shooter. But I personally recommend the sequel more, Bad Company 2. But still, hey, play this one first so you can get a little bit of the story, you know, and get used to it. It doesn't make sense to play the sequel first, but still, if I ever get around to playing and or reviewing the sequel here, you know, it's gonna be a lot better. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up here, and let me know what you think. I think it didn't take me that long to beat the game. I think I beat it in less than a week, and I was playing multiple levels per day, so yeah, it's not that hard. I was playing it on easy. There are 3 difficulty modes, right? There's easy, normal, and hard. I always play these kinds of games on easy. Can't even imagine what some levels are like on hard, right? So it's pretty good, pretty scaled to different player levels and skills, you know, so I think it's pretty fair in that aspect. But I always play these war games on easy, you know. I don't like challenging myself too much. I just want to have fun. So yes, that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comments below what you think, you know, if you've played Bad Company, if you've liked it, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. Give me your own personal rating and, you know, a little review down there. Just don't write me an essay, because I don't have time to stop and read some long ass comments that some of you guys post here, you know. Don't have that kind of time, man. But let me know anyway, and we'll have a little debate down there. And if you happen to like this review, please go ahead and give this video a like, and also subscribe to my channel, because I release videos every single day. And while you're at it, hit the notification bell too, so you can know exactly what time I upload. And it's all good. Bad Company until the day I die. 5-finger death punch. Anyway, this is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the final clip of the game if there is one, and then the outro screen.
We need to get out of here! No shit! You want me to make a plan for you?
Is this your idea of fun, Haggard?
Well, yeah.